Who would have ever thought that we would be here? For me to actually sit here and say that we're going to have 70, 80, 90-year mortgages, the greatest I've seen is 101-year mortgage. Absolutely bananas. I've never seen anything like this, not even in my wildest dreams, but this is what's happening. And so we have to kind of understand, how did we get into this position? So the number one thing that I always hear everybody, how on earth is everybody affording it? My mortgage has gone from $2,000 and is now $5,000. I don't understand how people are making it. The 80, 90, 100-year mortgage, that's how people are paying for it. All right, so we're going to be jumping into this today because this is some wild stuff that is happening. Okay, so in the Toronto Star, it's talking about how lenders are now seeing these 60, 70, even 90-year mortgages. I'm telling you that it's even higher than that. And so when we're going to be looking at this, this is the main problem that we're going to be facing moving on from this. Super, super high. But this is not allowed legally, except the gray zone. Remember that the law says that you cannot qualify for a mortgage or requalify more than the 25 years in Canada. In the United States, 35 years. In the United States, you can't have a 40-year mortgage. They took that away after the last financial crisis. Why do you think they took it away from Canada and the United States? Maybe because the great financial crisis and the 40-year mortgage contributed to that. So they took it away forever. That's actually a good thing. I think it was a good thing. But the fact that they're allowing it now, when they were pushed by this at the central banks, they said, well, this is a release valve. It lets people get their things in order. But in reality, what everybody is doing when they're seeing these 90-year mortgages on their own mortgage, even family members of mine have this. They're like, well, we're just going to hang on and wait and see. It's the number one answer that we get. And remember, if you are not going to be proactive about this, well, you're going to get squashed like a bug, just like Mr. Wonderful always says. But if we are proactive about it, we can actually get ahead of it. We're just not going to get hurt as bad. All right, so let's take a look at some of the stuff that I got for you today. So if we're going to take a look at the prices in Toronto and we take a look at the past 12 months, all of a sudden we're feeling pretty good about this, right? We're feeling good because the rates have gone up in the past 12 months, and this is what you're going to see in the news. Guys, we've recovered 100% of what we did in the past year, or they're going to say from the beginning of the year, 980 up to 1.1. They're going to say, guys, property prices are up 10%. Everything is good. There is no problems left on the planet. So you can see it up to 1.2. But if you actually look back, and let's go back 2 years and actually see where we are, prices were 1.3 last February. So prices are still down a lot. And so people just are not paying attention. And this is what happens in the mainstream news, depending on whatever they want to spin. They're going to look at the information the way that they want to look at it. So overall, I could say from the peak of 1.3 down to 1.1, that's a big drop. But you guys, if we just look at the beginning of the spring, they can have another news article saying, well, home prices are up 10%, 15%, depending on the area. Just remember that we are looking at some dangerous narratives, the way that they bring that up, the way they spin that information. So we are going to be running into some serious trouble. Now, today, I wanted to come on here and we want to talk to you because we want to talk about what you can do personally. So J-Dub is on here. Hey, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks very much for coming on. We want to answer your questions. That is what we are here for today. So if we're going to take a look at this, we're going to take a look at some of the prices around. Now, of course, everybody just wants to talk about the interest rates and whatever the interest rates are. Okay, so I understand that totally. That makes sense. But what we want to do is we want to get a good idea of what's happening around the different countries. Now, this doesn't matter if you're in Canada or the United States. Let's take a look at some of the prices. It doesn't matter the city. When you see interest rates actually go down, which was in this zone, you can see every single line goes rocketing up. When interest rates actually start taking their bite and interest rates are going up, all these properties, you can see a giant lump in this region where all the properties are going downhill. And that's exactly what is going to be happening. So interest rates are important, but it's very, very different. If you're comparing this one up here, which is Oakville, compared to one at the very bottom in Quebec, prices barely even change there. So though they all rhyme, they're not all the same. Huge, huge, huge important side effect, because as stupid as some statements are, I have to say that the number one comment that we get in real estate is it now a good time to buy real estate? Is it a good time? As stupid as it is to say, like, all of this type of people are bad. Doesn't matter if it's whatever your flavor is, any type of, you don't like one type of people. That would be ridiculous. Or I only like one type of people. That was ridiculous. Nowadays everybody is so hot-headed and ready to get triggered by anything. But I think that we should all really internalize and try to be better characters, right? Like better people in our souls. It's the same thing as real estate. Not all real estate is the same. So this is why I say, yes, it is always good to be buying real estate, the right kind. Yes, it is always good time to be networking and finding new people that you can work with if they're the right type of people. Yes, you should always be talking to more clients out there and growing your business if they're the right clients. There's always that caveat if they're the right people for you. And so that's why I always want to grow, and I want to encourage you guys to continue to do the same thing. So in real estate, if we're going to take a look at something as easy as this chart and take a look at it, this is every city that's around, pretty much the top 50%, all these huge gap cities that are up there, those would be cities that are going to be more in trouble, that are going to be more susceptible to interest rate hikes. The one down below here, these are the ones that are going to be a lot safer. And so we don't have to go through them all, but you see if you're up like halfway down or so, where is it? Perth, Quinte, Kingston, Rideau, Halifax, Montreal. There's a lot of cities that are very, very safe and less that are a little bit crazier on the prices right now. So we got to know the main question that everybody is asking right now is, should I keep hanging on? Which is kind of crazy to me. Should I keep hanging on to my house? So you guys that remember me in 2021 telling you fix your rates, and then they went up. Do you remember that? Guys, I'm not an oracle. I have no idea what's happening. But you know that if interest rates go up, prices got to come down. So I was telling you all last spring, sell, last summer, sell, but I had no idea that Silicon Valley Bank would have caused this run. Unbelievable. Who could have ever guessed that? So let's take a pause here and see. I got a couple questions coming in, so we want to make sure that I'm here to help you guys today. I think some sellers are still holding back on their price. If a recession hits, maybe we'll get some stock. Absolutely. People are holding back on prices right now. They are feet in the ground, like heels dug in, and they are not bending on prices at all. Do you upcoming carbon tax on July 1st will affect pricing? Absolutely. So if we're going to take a look at carbon pricing, so you guys, starting July 1, Canada has another carbon tax that is coming in. This new carbon tax that's coming in is going to add like 11 cents, 14 cents per liter, something like that. Gas is the only blood of the economy. Think of the blood in your veins that's running through it. The oil is the same way. Every single product is brought on a truck. It's going to cost more, 100%. Also, most of your home is made of oil products. Now, most people don't want to admit that because I know that we're climate friendly, and I believe in the climate too. But I also have to be realistic. The asphalt shingles are made from what? From oil products. If we go below that and we look at the trusses, well, they're treated with chemical products and they're transported with oil. If we go to the windows, made from petrochemicals, the floors in your house, petrochemicals, most of the plumbing in your house, petrochemicals. Everything is going to be coming from petrochemicals. So if we raise the gas tax up, not only transport, but the raw products are going to go up in price, which should hit on the home prices. This is why we always talk about multiple cross currents happening at the exact same time. So yes, as the taxes go up on all gas products, prices got to get pushed up, which you would think home prices got to go up. But at the same time, we're getting dragged down by all those interest rates. And those interest rates have not pounded the majority of people yet. That's still coming. Also, if banks are giving out 70 years of amortization, what does that mean for home prices? This is a very good question. So what we were talking about just before was they are not giving out 70-year mortgages. They are modifying current loans within the allowable window. Remember that you can qualify initially for your home at 25 years, and after you're requalifying in Canada, it's 5 years. I know it's stupid. In America, you go 30 years. But during that time, from when you qualify to when you have to refinance your home, in the middle, that zone, they're allowed to go to a 100-year mortgage. But there's a poison pill that is there, because the moment that you come to refinance, you are going to get clobbered. Your payments are going to go from $3,000 to $12,000 overnight. And when that hits, we are in some big doo-doo. So how big is that? In Canada, our 5 major banks have $30 billion coming due this year. Next year, 2024, $60 billion per bank. And in 2025, all of those 5-year rollovers from the 2020 year, where everybody was buying like crazy, $100 billion per bank. So you guys, this is not about, it's not going to last that long. We only need 4% default to have another GFC, and we're already over 12% or negative amortization on their mortgages. So we're not going to have to wait that long. Remember, we cannot qualify for a 70-year mortgage, but you can for sure have one now if you want one. And a lot of people do, even my own family members. So let's jump into a couple other things that I wanted to show you guys today, and then you guys can ask questions along. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you very much for all your questions. So we want to stay away. If you are in any city that is in the top half where it is the most dangerous, these properties are probably properties you might want to consider taking some profits on now. I think that would be a very good time frame for you. Now, America has raised their rates 10 times. But remember that the United States has been very, very clear that they expect to raise the rate at least 2 more times this year. That is going to continue to put pressure on prices downward. Canada is way behind the 8 ball. We're only at 4.75 right now. And the United States is at 5.25. We have 0.5% to catch up. And then we're going to see if the United States raises the rates. Canada is tied to the hip with America, and we got to stay with them. If we don't stay with them, we're going to get in a lot of trouble. So this is where we're at right now, you guys. We have to pay attention to this and be expecting our rate to match the United States. Very, very important. So negative amortization, this is the definition of that. This is the 70-year mortgages. Even when you pay, the amount you owe still goes up because you are not paying enough to cover the interest. So this is the 60, 70, 90-year mortgages that are happening in Canada right now. And so this all comes back to, if we take a look at what a regular amortization schedule should look like, it should look like something like this, where your balance or the total that you owe, this is a small mortgage at $200,000. The balance slowly gets paid off over time, and interest slowly gets paid off over time. But if you see your payment stays the exact same forever. All right, now let's take a look at the monthly schedule. This is year 1. You can see a $200,000. I know this is a small number, but $200,000. After 1 year, you've paid off $9,000 of your mortgage. After 2 years, you've paid off $18,000, and it just speeds up, right? This is a 15-year pay down. So imagine, though, if you owed $200,000 on this, and after 1 year, it said you now owe $210,000. And after 2 years, it would say $225,000. 3 years, it says $250,000. I don't know. You know, it's going the opposite way. The balance is growing. This is the problem that we're facing right now. This negative amortization on loans, where you have this negative amortization loan, you can pay less than the minimum payment. So the shortfall is always added to the outstanding mortgage balance, which means your mortgage is getting larger every month. Dangerous. So if we want to do a loan comparison, just try to take a look at what something like that would look like. If we had $1 million loan last year versus $1 million loan this year, 2% last year, a lot of my clients are getting 8% this year, both 25-year amortizations. We're talking about getting qualified right now. A $4,000 payment last year would have turned into a $7,000 payment this year. Where do you get an extra $3,000? The answer is people don't have it. So comes the question, David, how on earth are people affording this? And my answer to you is they are not. They are pushing the debt farther and farther into the future. And now they're in a weird position where they're paying interest on their interest. Double whammy. So this is going to continue to shake out over the next couple of years. This is why we got to survive till 25, survive till 2025. It's imperative that we try to survive that long. So if we're going to take a look at where mortgage rates are right now, a very good indication, any country you're in, we could look at a 5-year treasury for the United States, or we could look at a 5-year government bond in Canada, or the gilt market in the UK. It doesn't matter. Just try to look up the 5-year. This is going to dictate what your mortgage rate is going to be during time. Now, as we know that Canada was going to raise those rates as of May 11th, we saw that the bond rate absolutely exploded to the upper end. We know that they were going to raise rates 0.25%. In response to that, we had it go from 2.9 all the way to 3.6 where it is now, and it actually went as high as 3.8. That's a 1% increase in the bond, 1%. Yet the interest rate was only going up 0.25%. So in that case, we know that the bond market massively overcorrected onto the upside. If the bond market massively overcorrected, we would then expect there to be a pull down, and lo and behold, from June 22nd, we've seen that pullback as it's come all the way down to 3.6 right now. So that's a good thing. But overall, the rate is much higher than it was in the period from the Silicon Valley Bank collapse until the beginning of May. So that zone is what was responsible for pushing prices all the way up here. It added an extra $100,000 to every home. So when you see those rates absolutely skyrocket, you have to expect the inverse to happen and that home prices will get squashed down. So glad that we do this online and have this recorded on YouTube, because you guys can go back and watch what I told you in the past. You can always go back on our channel as well and see where we were wrong. I'm not right all the time, but certain things we were very, very right on. All right. So this is really, really important. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask me on that? Please fire away if you feel comfortable to do so. All right, so let's try to move this along then, and you guys can think about your questions and come back to me. So this is where we're sitting right now, and this is where people are getting hammered. So we'll go to a regular bank, and we're going to see an advertised rate. You're going to see this online a lot. 6% is being advertised. Sometimes it's 5.5%, whatever that is. That is what the advertised rate is, okay? But what I have never seen before, the risk premium is crazy. So right now, most people are getting around a 2% risk premium. 2%. You used to get a 2% risk premium when? You would get a 2% risk premium if you were garbage, if your credit score was 500, if you had barely any income. And now they're giving a 2% risk premium to people who have credit scores of 800 and have a job making 100,000. They are still putting risk premiums on them. That shows you how scared that the banks are right now. So they're adding that 2% risk premium on top of it. And then on top of that, OSFI in Canada, they call it a stress test. We got to make sure that you can qualify for more. So even though the advertised rate is 6, even though you're going to sign a contract with a bank for 8%, including the 2% risk premium, they got to add another 2% just to make sure that if you lose your job, you're most likely going to be able to pay. So you got to qualify, my friends, for 10%. 10% you have to qualify for. Crazy town. Absolutely crazy town to me. So the fact that this moody millennial got on here the other day and said interest rates, schminterest rates, shows me that they have no clue what interest rates actually do to people. We just looked at the calendar. The payments went from $4,000 to $7,000. Yeah, that's going to affect you big time. All right, so you got to qualify at 10%. So let's just say, for example, you had $1 million home. 10% on that would be $100,000 of interest. And you're supposed to be paying more than just your interest. You're supposed to be paying down your mortgage. Most people don't even make that. The average salary in Toronto is $70,000, of which you're only going to be taking home $45,000 after taxes. It's crazy. So we have this winners and losers. And so we have to look at these winners and losers and understand where we are. Who are going to be the winners in this situation? We have cheap cities are going to be the winners. The cities that are under 1 million people, I'm going to go under 1 million people, you're going to do very, very well. And cheaper properties. By this, I mean bread and butter housing. Okay, bread and butter, not bread and breakfast, bed and breakfast. Bread and butter housing, entry level working class housing is going to do very, very well. Who is going to do poorly in this situation? Expensive cities, expensive properties. Now, let's take an example. You have a $10 million property, $10 million home. That property could easily drop 50% and drop down to $5 million. Not a very big problem. At the exact same time, a $300,000 house will go up to be worth $500,000. It'll go up in value. So when people are saying, should I buy real estate? Should I buy real estate? It depends. In a big ass property for $10 million, single family dwelling, no, you should not buy that. Should I buy bread and butter housing for working class people? Abso-freaking-lutely, a big check mark here, okay? This would be, I'm going to circle this in green just so that you guys remember this is what you need, bread and butter housing, okay? So here is the other portion of that's going to come down to it. It's how the governments are actually manipulating the markets. And they're going to do a lot in a lot of them, in a lot of different ways. But let's just talk about one. Where we are, if you are buying a property under $500,000, you only need 5% down. If you're in the United States, you only need 3% down. Good Lord, 3%. So that's incredible, right? For you to actually have that. But what happens if you breach that and you go over? Well, if you are going to be between 500,000 and $1 million, you now have to put 10% down. So you're going to say, well, David, if I put down 1 million, I buy $1 million property, you have to put down 100,000. Not so fast. For the first 500,000, you put down 5%. So if you do that, then what is that? That would be $25,000, right? And between 500,000 and $1 million here, you need 10% of that total. That's another $50,000. So if you buy a property at $999,000, you add up those two, it would be $75,000. Okay. Now, $1 more, $1, and you hit that $1 million mark, you now need 20% or $200K. So that $1 difference now makes it where you only have to put $75,000 down or putting $200,000 down. That is going to smack everybody upside the head. Absolute crazy town. Okay. And this is why this is going to happen. The expensive homes are going to get smacked down, and the bread and butter housing for working class people is going to go up. This happens. This is not just me. This is every city that has ever had these types of problems in the history of the world. Anyway, this is just how it is. Yeah, and 10% interest rates, we're having to comment here, nobody will approve. And exactly. And you have to have a very high income, very good credit score to get approval. And this is what they call liquidity squeeze. Liquidity squeeze, meaning no banks are going to lend you. If you can't get a mortgage, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. All right, so let's jump into getting some other comments here. So let's just pull up Bank of Canada. Bank of Canada. Ooh. Because we have some comments coming in about that. So let's take Bank of Canada and where they're saying their inflation is at. They're saying that their inflation is at 3.4%. But is their inflation really at 3.4%? Because not really. Because if we look over, common inflation is still at 5.2, median is at 3.9, and trim is at 3.8. We don't have to get into what does that all mean. The definitions are here, which you can go read about trim, core, and medium and common. So in the United States, they call it core inflation. Core is normally the trim that is here, but you can go read about this. My point about telling you this is so that you know that these are far too high, even though they're very, very doctored, heavily doctored numbers. This is far too high, number one. So this gives you a very high likelihood that they will be hiking in July. Very high likelihood. Right on the front page, bankofcanada.ca. We are the central bank. We work to preserve the value of the money by keeping inflation low and stable. What a load of malarkey. But anyway, this is what they say. So this is not 2%. So why on earth would they do that? Also, if we go back and reiterate what we said before, we are still at 4.75, which is way short of what the United States has at 5.25. And we got to stick with the United States. If we don't, there's going to be problems in the air. So, yeah, I do believe that we're going to have those interest rates that are going to be continuing on. So I guess one of the main things for you guys to know about interest rates, everybody has a misunderstanding, I think, about how interest rates actually work. And so everybody was celebrating when there was a pause. So let's take an example of the pause here. Say that we paused rates in Canada and we are excited about that. So when there's a pause, we get excited and we say, well, this is great because my mortgage rate will not go up. I'm putting an X by $200. It was going to go up $200, but now it's not. So we're excited and we're cheering about that. Here comes the problem. You have life. And in life, we usually have gas and car payments, and we have what else? Food. And all of this is imported to Canada. So we are susceptible to the US dollar to Canadian dollar conversion. And when we do not raise our rates, we save you the 200 here, but then what happens is we're going to get hammered on inflation in these categories. So when you're going to get inflation coming here, this is going to cost you another $200 per month. So you're going to be excited about saving 200 here, but they're going to cost you 200 more here. Either or, we're going to get screwed. Now, let's just say that we went the other way and we'll do the opposite. Say that we raised rates, okay? And we followed whatever America says. Now we have to pay $200 more this way on our mortgage payment, but all of the other things that we had here, gas, car, food, all of this does not go up. It stays neutral. So let's just reiterate. If we pause rates, it's going to cost me $200 more a month in the rest of my life, but nothing on my mortgage. If we raise rates, our mortgage rate is going to go up by $200, but it's not going to cost me anywhere else. Can you understand that problem? If that happens, you guys, it's going to get you one way or another. So whether you're going to pay the extra $200 on your mortgage payment or you're going to cost it on everything else in your life, they're going to get their pound of flesh from you one way or another. And so the chances of them hiking those rates are going to be very, very high in July, unless they go against everything that they have said in the past many, many months. Then I can't see how it's going to be anything different than a raise. Hey, you liking my shirt? Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. So you guys know what I'm always telling you. Go buy some gold, you guys. There's going to be some rough times ahead. Go buy some silver. Go buy some gold. Very, very important that you're going to get a little bit of this into your portfolio. It's very, very cool. You can get one of these for $40 and start stacking them. This has no third-party risk. There's no banks that can steal this from you. That like once it's yours, it's yours. Also, you guys know that I keep telling you, though Bitcoin is out of favor, I wouldn't throw it out like baby with the bathwater. I wouldn't do that. Just a small amount on reoccurring payments. Doesn't matter what it is. $10 doesn't matter. Buy a little bit, put it aside, but never risk your whole bag on it. That would be crazy town, right? You don't want to do that. All right. Do you guys have any other questions for me? So what we can do right now is if you guys want me to show you the calculator that I use all the time when I'm buying properties, we can go through that, or I can jump back into some individual properties in individual areas. Bitcoin Cash to the moon. I don't know about Bitcoin Cash. I don't actually ever do that. I always stick with Ethereum or Bitcoin, the two big ones. That's what I would stick with. But that's just me. Everybody could do their thing. With Bitcoin drop or BlackRock owning it with the Bitcoin ETF, it's so volatile. I always say Bitcoin and Ethereum is like a 2-year-old child. Tantrums all the time. Prices go up. There are mood swings all over the place. Same thing. But we're not looking at it for a 1-year trade, a 2-year trade. What I want you to do is keep it for 10 years and then look back and let us know what that is. Can I explain that $1 million house? Daniel, good question, but I don't understand what that is. Can you let me know what you mean by the $1 million house, and then I'll jump in and I'll try to explain it in a better way. Maybe I'll do a better job at it. $1 million house, Daniel, I'm waiting for you. All right, so let's try to see what we can do. $1 million home. So what I was explaining before, let's try to do it a little bit neater, maybe, and don't make fun of my writing too much. If we have a $1 million property, I was trying to explain what you require down, the down payment on a property. So you can go look this up anywhere you want online. 500,000 up to 500,000 is only 5% down. A $500,000 purchase to a $1 million purchase home is 10% down for that portion. And over $1 million is 20% down. So if you have a home for $1 million and you had 1 million, and like right there, you'd have to put $200,000 down. If you had a home at $750,000, say like right in the middle here, you would have to pay 5% of the first 500 grand and then 10% of the 250 after that. And this applies all over the country, I believe. I think every province in Canada is the same. And so where would we be investing, I guess, would be a good question, of different places in Canada. So there's good reason actually. So he's living in Quebec. If we take a look at Quebec, let's pull up some numbers and actually share with him where it is. Quebec is a really cool place. You guys know, if you guys have been following me for any amount of time, I'm born and raised in Quebec, spent all my life there. So let's take a look at, see how, here's Central Quebec. We'll pull up Central Quebec, Estrie. We're going to look up Montreal, obviously. Montreal. There's a Quebec composite. Let's try and take a look at them. But let's also throw in Vancouver and Toronto just so that we have a comparison, so we have an idea of what we're looking at. If you're looking at here, Toronto and Vancouver, they've made a hell of a lot more money since Quebec tried to separate back in the 90s. That's when it actually went bananas, and it actually went right up to the top. So when that happened, there was a lot of people that left Quebec. They brought all their companies to Ontario, and at the same time, when Hong Kong was handed back to China, a lot of money poured out of there and poured into Vancouver. So two different stories between Vancouver and Toronto, but they both behave very, very similarly. Let's look at Quebec here. Montreal, very, very flat. Quebec, very flat. Estrie, very flat. Central Quebec, very flat. So these are very, very, very healthy. Look, the prices stayed the same almost for over a decade while this crazy manic depressive market here in Toronto and Vancouver took over. So from this chart, you would say that, well, this is a great place to invest, extremely stable, except that Quebec is the worst place in the country to fight the landlord and tenant board. If you ever had to fight the landlord and tenant board, well, you are screwed. So if you wanted to try to do that and try to look at the landlord and tenant board in Quebec, here is the problem. In Quebec, it could take you 2 years to evict a tenant for non-payment. That is insanity. And they limit you on how much you can raise the rent. Big problems. So in those cases, I wouldn't invest in Quebec. But as far as a beautiful place to live, Montreal is so much fun. I love Montreal. I love the fact that the river's nearby, the mountains are nearby, so much to do, so much culture that is there. Very, very fun. So I love to visit, but I wouldn't live because the taxes are horrendous, and I wouldn't invest there because the government doesn't like landlords. So I'm going to only invest where it actually makes sense. But Elias is asking, where in the U.S. do you invest? So if you were going to invest in the U.S., I would follow a very similar things to what I'm suggesting in Canada. If you were investing in Canada, what would I tell you? Number one questions, can you raise the rent? What is the limit on rent raising? What is the procedure to kick somebody out for non-payment? And how can I go and recover my money if they did not pay? If we're paying attention to all that all together, then we're going to say a lot of provinces are going to knock out and some are going to come in. if we're going to look at the United States, you would want to stay the hell away pretty much from the coasts. You would never want to invest anywhere in Massachusetts or New York or Washington State or Oregon or California. You would want to stay away from there. If you're in the United States and you want to invest, you probably would like to live in invest in northern Florida, Arkansas, Tennessee, Nevada, Texas, all the places that have low income tax states and that you could raise the rent and evict somebody for non-payment. Also, Illinois. Oh, no, not Illinois. Kentucky. Not Illinois. Kentucky. The people from Illinois have moved from there and now they're up in Wisconsin. So yeah, if you're in the United States, pretty much the South. And it kind of, unfortunately, it follows the political lines. So in the United States, you're just massively polar opposites, right? The two sides are fighting it out. So blue states are kind of, you would never invest in a blue state, but you want to invest in a red state. Regardless of your political views, forget that. This is not a political channel. This is about making moolah, making money, making your life better. You want to invest in red states, live wherever you want. All right. Any more questions from you guys? If you have more questions, if not, we can move on. Sound good? Oh, man, I've done a really, really good job tonight. So what you guys have to do, if you want to make money, you need to be investing very, very wisely in the right types of areas. This is what you got to do. You have to be able to buy a property and make it make you money. Okay. So let's try to look at a number, $600,000, for example, rents for $5,000. Now we're going to have to look at some commercial rates. So let's say it's $600,000. We have to pay $5,000 in taxes every single year. Insurance per month, $125. Say we're not going to have condo fees, obviously. Let's just say it's duplex. And I'm very, 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 very lazy. So I would like to have it property managed. I want to have some vacancy already built into it. Repairs, let's say it's a little bit older. I'd like to have 10% put aside for repairs every single year. Mortgage rates would be higher now. So we might have to pay, what, 7%? Let's just say that we had a risk premium already attached to you. You were in trouble, whatever. Say it's a 20% down payment and you were paying 7%. Now we have to figure out a couple other things. My improvement value ratio, obviously I would not be in that one. We'll make it 80, marginal tax rate at 50, rent growth per year. Let's say that whatever the law says, 5%, assumed rate 4% for structural inflation. That makes sense. So even if we do all of that, we'll still be making 42% per year. So if you could figure out a way to make 42% per year, this is what you would have to do. So with a calculator like this, you can underwrite a property in under a minute. So when you put the price in, you put the market rent in, we're going to put all of our expenses in. If you have condo fees or lawn and snow or whatever, remember, we're going to make this work for us. So our down payment would only be $120,000 here. And remember, I'm going to be putting $300 aside every single month. That does not include in the total money I'm making. $300 a month is going to go to the side to pay in case somebody is not in the building. $500 a month is going to be going every single month into a repair reserve fund, different bank accounts, so that extra $800 is getting put into an account just in case something happens. Please remember that if you don't need that $800, you still have it. That's another 9-10 grand a year that you're going to have just sitting there. And if the unit was fully rented and you didn't have any problems, well, you can still keep that money. So this is what you have to do. In this calculation, what we're going to be doing is having 20 years of capital cost allowance, or depreciation is what they call it in the United States, with all your tax write-offs that you get. We're also going to have our mortgage getting paid down every single year, $7,000 paid down from the first year, $9,000 by year 5, $15,000 by year 12, and it keeps going all the way up. But look at that. By year 20, $27,000 is coming back to you as well. Also, you want to have your appreciation. Now, remember, only ever do this on structural inflation, never demand inflation, and make sure that you have your rent increases put in there as well. And then what it will do is it starts trying to add up all of your total expenses and all of your total profits. It's very, very fun when we can see the numbers growing every single year. Adi Kupa, he's talking about, can you clarify what the improvement value is? Well, if you don't know what improvement value is, I think that you should do a little bit of research on what the write-downs that you get, the tax allowances that you get. So whenever you're going to go and get interest on a property, a mortgage on a property, the insurance company is going to be telling you exactly what the value of your land is and what the value of your building is. So your improved value is what is the percent of the property price that is the house, not including the land. So you get a discount based on the value of the home on your property, not the value of the land itself, because the land never goes anywhere. I put it at 80% because that's where I buy properties. Actually, the majority of my properties are at 100%. But anyway, I digress. If you guys want, you can go to this little tab. Just go to my channel, Rough Team Realty, and go to Total Rental Income Property. This calculator here, I go through it. It's a 20-minute video where I teach you every single step on how to use it. So if you like it, then you can go to the link in my bio and you can get this calculator if you want. But I go through every single step in here and teach you how to use it. So hopefully, that'll help you guys out a lot. It's very, very powerful. The main thing that you have to do here is you have to figure out a way for you to outrun inflation. If inflation is coming at you at 10, 15, 20% per year, what are you going to do? So I'm very capable of sitting back and making over 20%. That doesn't scare me, because if I can make over 40% per year on my properties, then I'm good. I just have to be able to weather the storm. The problem is your yearly ROI might be going down. You're going to have to supplement the machine to keep making money. But it's okay if overall, once I add up all the revenue streams, if I'm going to still be breaking even and then making a bunch of money. So in the very, very beginning, when I buy the property, I'm only going to have to put down 120,000. So if I only have to put down 120,000 to make 50, that's a very, very good return in 1 year. So hopefully that helps you guys. Anyway, I guess I do a pretty good job because I don't have very many comments, or you guys are a little bit quiet. I want to give you guys an opportunity just to ask me any questions if you have any, because I think that this is a lot of really, really good information. You guys know that I operate in the city of Toronto. We sell properties here. We have a company called sellhigher.ca. So if you're thinking of selling your property, you can go to sellhigher.ca and take a look at some of the property prices, and let me know if you would like me to try to have a meeting with you and sell your property. We also have another YouTube channel that we open now that's going to be specifically for Toronto. It's not going to be the general macroeconomic, but if you wanted just Toronto data, you can go to the link in our bio in our YouTube and you can go there. Otherwise, you can go to Rough Team Realty, which is our macro channel. So please do that if you guys appreciate that type of stuff. Let's take a look at a couple properties while we are here, just so that we can get an idea of how the market is behaving. And how I would sum it up is that the market is in some kind of mental distress. You guys, that's how I have to say it. So now that the bond rate has gone way up, you guys look at where we were here, these prices. Look at where the rate was high here. Look at when the rate was high here. We now are very similar to the rates that we had back in November. That is the problem that we are going to be facing moving forward. So now that the rates have recovered and they're way, way back up, now your 5-year mortgages are going to be very, very long as well. So if they're long, it wouldn't be shocking. I don't think it's likely. I don't think that they'll retest the lows that we had at the beginning of the year. I don't think it'll fall quite that far that fast, but we should see it squeeze down as liquidity is drying up and interest rates are increasing. So that's what should happen. Now, of course, the market is like a 2-year-old. petulant child who's screaming at you every day. So this, we never know how it's going to go, but people are not qualifying. That's what I do know. The majority of the moves in the market today are with cash buyers, and they're not always around. We need people to buy with mortgages if they're going to keep it up. Now, let's see. Are people overpaying for properties? I got kicked out. Sorry, guys. We'll have to do this again later. So property prices, properties are selling a lot faster than they were in the past, way, way faster. In addition to it selling a lot faster, prices are up, properties are selling faster, and people are overpaying again. Isn't that crazy? This is where we're back to. People are paying 105%. 105. This is crazy town. So if you want to let people actually run into the burning fire, we got to let them. But I can't wait to be on the other side to buy their home for pennies on the dollar. Can't wait. I'm very excited about it. So where should your emergency fund be? Of course, you always have to have some liquid cash available to you, but I always think that you need a little bit of gold and silver on the side for yourself, just to make sure that you guys are safe. All right, you guys, I really appreciate all of the effort, all of the support you guys are coming by here all the time. Do you have any final questions before I jump off? Any of you guys on Facebook, on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, any of you? If not, I'm going to let you guys go. I wish you a very, very good night. Keep on crushing it. You guys know that I'm a massive fan of capitalism. I went from welfare to where I am today, all because of hard work. And so if you educate yourself with a good financial education, then you're going to do very, very well in life. Thank you guys for all the likes. Thank you for the support. Please follow me on my YouTube channel. And if you enjoy this type of content, we're going to start creating a much broader sense in just the Toronto market. And we have a different channel for that. You can get the link in the bio. All right, you guys, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Thank you for everything. Have a good night.